Hey Internet, how's it going? Welcome to another episode of the John Graves Show. A lot of people really like to blame, or at least it's getting to the point now where they really have to stop blaming video games for everything. Violent video games for everything. Stop actually blaming a lot of things for everything. Or at least for me personally, I see that a lot of people, like whenever something bad happens in the world and they want to find like a scapegoat with it. Whereas I remember back in the 90s where they said that Mortal Kombat was the cause of gang violence, or they said that Doom is pretty much like the reason why these people were out there, like, or at least like why all these school shootings were happening, or why they're like, or where they're like the guy over there, man, who played light gun games. He took a gun to school and shot most of his he shot most of his classmates. I know that this isn't a very serious topic, but at the same time, it's like you really gotta stop blaming these games for things for problems that fucking already exist. I mean, I still get this argument today from parents who say that they don't want their kids playing games in which that they shoot people. And I ask this question a lot, and it's like, you have to stop being, well, I'm not a parent, so I really can't say, but I am an older brother, and I do know that kids can handle a lot. Younger kids who are under the age of 9, under the age of, under the age of 15, they can handle. Well, and also, if I can be real, it's like kids in a sense, or at least like if you want to be technical here, kids, man, can border up on anyone under the age of 18. So realistically speaking, if you're talking about like a 9-year-old playing like Mortal Kombat, sure, I wouldn't let them see the fatalities all that much because that could give them nightmares. But then again, this is coming from a guy who pretty much was scared of fucking Friday the 13th, and I seen that shit when I was under the age of 10. I was fucking afraid of the Revenge of the Shinobi Genesis cartridge opening with the silhouette ninja with the sword, and also like I saw porn before I was even 10 years old. So you really got to look at the question here and say, like, okay, can kids like that, can they see these things, or at least like seeing these things, does it cause these supposed problems with people? Like, no, it doesn't. It could probably elevate a problem in which that somebody's already going through and nobody wants to try and help them with it, or they don't want to speak up about it because of whatever reason, whether it be bullying, whether it be some type of parental whether it be like some type of parental figure that isn't necessarily around, or pretty much it's just the friends in which that they are around who actually promote something. Because as far as I know, it's like you don't know what the next parent will necessarily allow their kids to do. I mean, this is like the whole argument of which that I say that parents who ask other parents to not, who ask other people to not swear around their children, but then they say it in a very derogatory term, which that is swearing, or at least in which that they do the thing in which that they ask other people to not do. Whereas two people are holding a conversation, and then they hear somebody say, or at least like they hear them say a swear word, and then they're like, hey yo, don't swear in front of my fucking kid. Some shit like that. And it's like, dude, like if that's the way how you want it, then don't say it like that. It's usually a thing of you can't blame video games for every fucking problem in which that you need an outlet to, because of course video games are just the outsource. There have been studies shown that, or at least like they are still doing studies to this day of saying that video games have no real outcome aside from a means to release aggression. If anything, it's a simulation to pretty much allow you to do these things so that you don't act out on them and you don't go out and you fucking attack somebody because you're angry and you just need an outlet. Because as many people know, if you're angry and then it just builds and builds and builds, eventually you are going to release it upon somebody in which that you probably shouldn't have, and then pretty much it becomes a bigger problem than what it actually is. And the same thing can be said here when a lot of people, if this even was the video game thing, it's usually, which is something that a lot of people, the people that they don't necessarily take into consideration, is the fact that even if video games were there to actually sort of mitigate the problem, people are still actually harassing this person, or they still have those problems in which that they want solved, and then they get bigger than what the game can actually contain, and then it blows up, and then like it just hits everybody else. Also, there's also another argument going on where that they say that video games desensitize people to actual violence, and I don't find that necessarily true. I have been playing video games ever since I was 4 years old, 4 years old, and that started out with me playing beat 'em ups, games in which that you beat up, where you beat up people, which is a genre which really is dead and needs to come back, because that's a genre that isn't about murdering people. It's just about just running through, stopping like an evil person from doing this thing, and then you move on. I mean, like, you just run through and you beat up people, and then you move on. However, a lot of people, they may not like that because you use pipes, knives, and bottles pretty much, or whatever. But I'm like, me playing those games, I never had the urge to hit somebody in the head with a pipe. Well, now, I may have done it before because they made me angry or some shit like that. I mean, or pretty much I have never instinctively played a video game and then said, or at least played a beat 'em up game and said, you know what, I want to beat this person up because I feel like what they're doing is wrong, so I can use knives, bottles, and pipes to get my point across and actually like beat this person up. I was never desensitized to the point where I would look at a horror movie and then like it wouldn't scare me because I'm like, well, that's just a guy in a mask. Remember, I was a kid who was afraid of the Friday the 13th movies because I thought that shit was actually real. I played video games most of my life, and to me, those were just games. As far as I know, it's like, yes, some of the contents, it did actually sort of scare me a little bit, and I'm like, if anybody has ever played Revolution X and then you got to that power plant with that little gooey skeleton thing that shot eyeballs at you, that thing fucking scared the shit out of me. But I'm like, I never thought that the thing was actually real. I thought that I mean, like, it was just in that video game cartridge, or like it was just in this movie. Well, actually, Friday the 13th, it did actually scare me away from going to the woods. But I'm like, realistically, video games, you can play as many violent video games as you want. And honestly, it's a lot like, well, cutting this into a parallel in which people can fully understand, okay? Looking at a video game's violence, okay? Shooting people, stabbing people, looking at fatalities in Mortal Kombat. If you look at that a lot, if you look at that enough, you get desensitized to it and it doesn't affect you anymore. Whereas, which is why when they get fucked up in a story in terms of like the injustice thing, which what happened to fucking Shazam and Superman, that's something that man can bother you because the context of it is like, okay, well now that now that was a very extreme action, but just to look at a fatality, just to look at somebody getting shot, and you're just doing it because it's a video game and you can get away with it, it doesn't necessarily affect you all that much. It's almost like having a girlfriend who always walks around naked, and then you're like, oh well, she's just naked now, because eventually you will get desensitized to it. But it's like, but when like the actual act itself happens, and then like there's a whole bunch of layered things up on top of that, it pretty much affects you more than just having it there in the first place. Again, fatalities and violence are just there, and they don't mean anything. However, the context, which is also on top of it, it can actually affect you a little bit more than just, okay, he did a fatality. Oh my god, now that right there, man, is terrible. I mean, like, Mortal Kombat 10 was getting some shit for its fatalities, but I'm like, if you watch them long enough, or pretty much like if you play the game long enough, then it's really nothing. I mean, to be fair, it's not all that bad. Video games do not lead to any problems that already do not fucking exist, and just for what is shown in the game, it can desensitize you from that. But from actual violence, like if you actually see somebody getting hit or getting beat up or getting bullied or getting put down, that's something in which that you personally are like, well, I'm not okay with that. I'm not. And honestly, video games, they pretty much do not affect my choices there. So that is what I got to say about that. Please tell me what do you think about this down there in the comment section. I'll catch you guys on the next John Grave Show. If you like this video, please hit that like button. I'll catch you next time. Please keep watching anime, keep playing video games. I'm out.